Feel good. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, feel great.
Go ahead with questions. Erik, this is what you came back for, right? To turn Clemson back into a national program, to get them back to hosting regionals. I know it's just one step in the journey, but do you take any satisfaction in what you've been able to accomplish so far?
I'm sure there'll be a point in time where we will reflect on, what we have accomplished, but right now it's kind of been the same thing since April, just head down and, going every day. Today we talked about let's get better today in training, and, tomorrow's we'll be here when tomorrow gets here. And so I really appreciate the guys, how they've just been able to maintain that focus of just, we're going to dig ourselves out of the hole we put ourselves in one day at a time, one training session at a time, one pitch at a time. And so we really haven't let up off that mindset, and I think that's what's really helped us, because we haven't, talked about every time we do pick our head up and look around at the ACC standings or look around at the projections, it really just, it doesn't do anything for us, and it wouldn't be, there's no reason to do it right now either. It's a Lipscomb Regional. We got better today, and we'll be excited to play tomorrow. We know we've got a great challenge.
What's your guys' approach? Is this a fresh start, new season, or are you rolling momentum? What's kind of the approach?
Yeah, just keep riding the wave, and the guys are, I think they're having fun playing baseball. So there's no need to call it a reset, or I know a lot of teams will do that and say they're 0-0 right now, but there's no need for us to do that. We're just gonna press on and keep going, and there's no need to hit a reset button. Why would we? So we've just kept the same approach that we've had for a couple of months now, and I like our guys' mindset. It looks right, feels right. They're playing with smiles on their faces. It probably looks a lot like their 12-year-old selves. So it's a good feeling to have.
After an inconsistent start to the season, you guys have been on a roll recently. Was there something that changed that, or something that clicked midway through the season?
Yeah, the first 31 games probably couldn't have gone any worse. 17-14 and 2-8 in league play, and it's probably a crossroads point when you're at that halfway mark of the season, and it could go either direction. And to our guys' credit, they recognized that we weren't getting blown out. We were right there. We were losing a lot of close games. We had some leads. We blew the leads late. We were injured. We had whatever reason you want to call it, but we were right there. And so they knew that if we just stuck with it and we just stuck to our approach and didn't change lanes and didn't deviate and didn't all of a sudden abandon ship, and they had to do it. It's one thing for the coaches to say it, but they had to do it. And to the players' credit, they stayed positive. To the coaches' credit, they stayed positive, and everybody just had a belief system that we could do it. And that's kind of, most people need to see it to believe it. We had to believe it to see it, and we did.
People have said this is kind of a tricky regional. What are some things you're looking out for in some of the other teams?
Well, looking at all the brackets, there's no bad teams. I mean, everybody's awesome, and I thought that this whole year, because we've had a top 2, 3, 4, 5 strength of schedule all year, and it felt like it. Every single game felt like it was an absolute battle. And just looking at these regionals as well, like there's pro prospects and good players and great coaches and great players, and everybody's good. And we're still in that post-COVID world where everybody's old, and I think that's a big contributor to it. So you got a lot of players in this postseason that have a lot of repetitions playing college baseball. So it's cool to see. It's great for our game, and it should be, one heck of a postseason. But this regional is no different. Again, all of our attention is on Lipscomb. We've got the A-Sun Pitcher of the Year pitching tomorrow. He's an awesome pitcher. But we know Tennessee and Charlotte are great too. We played Charlotte. It was a nip-and-tuck game. And then obviously Tennessee has been a juggernaut in college baseball the last few years. So we know the caliber of their team as well.
Do you think the Clemson fans in the home atmosphere will provide an added boost for you guys?
I sure hope so. I mean, that's how it used to be. That's how it was 21 years ago. That's how it was as an opposing coach here with Maryland in 2011. And that's how it's been the last couple of home weekends. The fans have really shown out and come out in full support. They get those balloons waving behind home plate, and they the music's playing. The marketing team's doing an awesome job engaging with the action on the field, and the fans have gotten behind that. There were a couple games early where you couldn't really hear the energy in the stadium or feel it. And lately, especially as the team has started to energize the crowd has started to energize the team. So I think there can be awesome synergy between DKS and the on-field play, and just want the fans to take ownership of their roster spot on this team as the 10th man. And we need it. And, I'm excited to see them come out in full force this weekend and bring the noise and bring the energy and positively impact our play.
In February, you talked about, you hope by the end of the season, the players kind of have the keys to the car and they're driving. I mean, do you have the feeling this is a player-led team at this point? Who is leading and kind of making that the case, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, there's no bad teams, there's only bad leaders, right? And that's stole that from somebody, either David Goggins or Jocko. I usually quote those two guys all the time. But the captains of this team, Riley Bertram, Blake Wright, Ryan Ammons, Jackson Lindley, have just done an awesome job keeping the team together, especially when we were being dragged through the mud and going through it 2-8. They did not let the team get negative. And because of that, they deserve a lot of the credit. And at some point over the last few weeks and month, you can just see it. You can see them. An example would be is something's going on the field where we hit a little bit of adversity, and before Coach Bellinger could step out to take a mound visit, Cooper's already doing it, and the infield's coming together and they're settling the pitcher down. Or before we were about to say, hey, heads up this, you hear Riley Bertram say it. And so those are the ways. It's one thing to say, oh yeah, the coaches just turn the keys over, but our guys are doing the little things that are taking place of what the coaches might do in that moment. And that's exactly what we need. That's exactly what we would have wanted. So that's really good to see. And that only comes through time and experience and repetition, and they're just doing a great job with that. The leaders of this team are doing a fantastic job.
I guess to be in year one and you look at half the roster is freshmen, sophomores, and guys that are coming back next year. I mean, how good does that make you feel about what you've built? What's going forward, I guess, from here?
Yeah, I think no question the future of this program is very bright, and you got a lot of young guys on this team getting very valuable experience, and that's why we just want to keep riding that wave and play well tomorrow and put ourselves in a position to keep Team 126 together as long as possible, because every day we stay together is more beneficial for future generations of Clemson baseball programs or Clemson baseball teams.
I know the NCAA adds extra wrinkles to all of this stuff, like a day before media availability. But outside of that, are you guys able to maintain your routine? Is that maybe even the biggest benefit of hosting a regional is that routine?
Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about just, did some postseason thoughts in this very room, and just talked about the importance of staying on our routine. And, media availability, that's a good thing. Those are good problems to have when our time is, because it's exciting. We have something exciting to talk about, but I think more it's the unintentional things that get you off target. The talk about Omaha, and it's totally harmless. It's people that are excited and excited for our players, excited for our team, our program. So it's just making sure that our players stay in the moment and they keep their friends and family in the moment. Not one single team in the postseason's advancing to Omaha after this weekend. So I think the message for us is to stay with our routine, keep our eyes on the target of, our mindset and how we play, and the execution that goes with that. That's the most important thing.
You played some crowd noise today during the first part of practice. Was that just getting ready for this crowd, or are you looking at?
No, we always do. We try to create as much chaos in our training as we possibly can. So whether it's the machines that are set up in the cage that are set up 10% faster and harder than what we'll see in the game, or playing louder crowd noise than we'll hear, where the players have to be extremely loud with their body language because they won't be able to hear each other. Just try to put them in chaotic environments all the time to where the game can actually slow down. So we only had a 75-minute training session, as all the regional teams do today, but we still wanted to try to train above game speed at certain times.
Having such a young team, do you worry about them getting too psyched or too hyped with the crowd and everything? How do you keep them level-headed?
I mean, they might, but that's all goes back to August, September, October, and we have a thing we call a warrior dial. And when you figure out that dial is amped up too much and takes you off of where your highest level of execution is, you got to be able to dial it back down. So, we have taught them extensively how to downregulate, and they know how to utilize their breathing and their self-talk to control their emotions. And there's no doubt it's going to be an adrenaline rush. It's a real thing. We talked about that as well, but we've also trained for those situations to where whether it's we purposefully accelerate their heartbeat physically and then put them on the mound or in the box, and then they have to utilize their breathing to slow their heartbeat down or whatever we do. They've been trained for these moments. So there's no doubt there'll be an adrenaline rush. There's no doubt they'll be amped up, but they also know how to slow themselves down, and that's what will be really important. The bigger the moment, the bigger the breath, and they'll need to execute that breath and the breathing throughout this entire regional.
You time for one more question?
You mentioned Lipscomb Regional a number of times. This is a very talented team. They beat Notre Dame in a series, I think they beat Louisville and a couple other ACC teams as well. Just having a few days to familiarize yourself with them. What are the challenges they'll present to you guys on Friday?
Well, they're very, very balanced, very dynamic club, and I've known Coach Forehand since I was an assistant at Vanderbilt. And he's a great coach, runs a great program, and they've got 106 home runs, they've got 99 stolen bases, they've got the ASUN Pitcher of the Year, they've got speed, they've got power, they're just a good club, and you could easily see how they made the run that they did through the conference